Hi, I'm Helen Smith. I am a summer intern at Gearhart Law.
Hi, my name is David Postolski. I am a senior partner at Gearhart Law.
And today I'm going to be discussing with David what it's like working in a big firm versus a small firm. So, David, my first question is going to be what is your experience working in either or both a big firm and a law firm? Have you done both?
Yes, I have done both. I started my career at really large law firms and actually really large companies, but that probably a whole separate video we can make about that. But working at a large firm was good at the time. It was interesting to see how all the practice areas kind of converge into one another, right? There's intellectual property, there's civil litigation, there's corporate. So from that perspective, it was great. It was a great experience. Um, However, I was looking for something a little bit different. I really wanted to be very entrepreneurial. I wanted my own clients. And as a young associate at a large firm, it's really hard to land a client when your billable rate is higher or when the firm traditionally just deals with larger clients. So for me, it just became less of a fit. And I found myself wanting the freedom to be at a smaller firm for that reason. And that's where, and that's what Gerhard Law is now for me.
So, do you think it's common that big firms typically will have multiple lawyers work on one client, whereas a smaller firm, it's more individualized?
Yeah, that's a really great question. I mean, no matter what, uh, there, yes, I definitely think there's more freedom of work that's involved with a particular client at a small firm where everybody is kind of on the same team, likely because you can have multiple people working on one client because possibly you're charging the client at a small firm at a fixed rate and not an hourly rate, as opposed to when you're at a larger firm, there might be multiple attorneys working on the same client, but then the client is getting billed from multiple attorneys, and that may not be such a great situation for a smaller type of client. But yeah, I think so. So I think I guess the answer to your question is I think both firms offer the opportunity where multiple lawyers can work on multiple clients. I guess it depends on the client and whether they're willing to pay for that is the question.
And would you say it's also typical that at a big firm, it's multiple lawyers working together from different fields, whereas in a smaller firm, it's more everyone's working in one field, like Gerhardt, everyone works in intellectual property?
Yeah, that's a good question. We are an intellectual property boutique at Gearhart Law, so mostly everything we do is intellectual property related. So there are things that satellite around intellectual property, like corporate issues, transactional issues, possibly litigation issues. So yeah, from that perspective, that's our core. At larger firms, especially the ones that I were at, there were multiple different practices that may or may not complement each other. And intellectual property was just one department of like, 15 or 20. So that has its pros and cons as well, for sure.
And what would you say to a fresh out of law school graduate just past the bar? If they were deciding they weren't sure if they wanted to do a big firm or a small firm, what would you tell them?
That's a good question. I think it really has to do with what that law student or that new attorney's goals are. If they want to develop their own business, they probably should be doing that at a smaller firm because it's going to be really hard at a larger firm. If that is not a concern of theirs, and it's not everybody has needs the pressure of creating their own business. Out of law school, I didn't even think about kind of getting my own clients. I just thought about getting practical good experience. And yeah, you can get amazing practical experience, trial by fire at a small firm. At a large firm, it's kind of a little bit different. You can get great experience, maybe at a slower pace. Client development is harder for sure because of the rates and stuff like that. But I do think everybody should kind of get it out of their system, right? They should get either one of these out of their system, whether it's starting at a small firm and going to a large firm or starting at a large firm and going to a small firm. which is how I did it. I also think people should be getting out of their system working in-house. That's a whole nother level of like service that you can provide where you are the client, right? You are being serviced by large or small firms because you are the in-house corporate counsel. So I think the advice is really think about kind of what you want to do, where you want to be, and if business is important, if development of business is important to you, because it's definitely a much easier road to develop business, I think, at a small firm.
Mm. And do you think nationally, do you think there are more big firms or small firms? Like, what do you think the ratio is of them?
That's an excellent question. When I was coming out of law school, there were very few, and that was almost 15, 16 years ago. There were very few solo practitioners who were hanging their shingles or mini firms that kind of banded together and want to be a small firm. There were just monster firms out there, and that is kind of and as a law student, that's what you see, right? Because they're the people that are coming on campus to recruit you and everything like that. You really got to go out of your way when, or at least when I was in law school, to really find small firms or even possibly want to open your own business, right? Be your own, a solo practitioner. That's a thing. Now today, I think it's like, you know, I think the ratio is probably equal today for sure. You hear a lot about bigger firms gobbling up smaller firms, but you hear the same amount of news as pieces of bigger firms going off on their own and creating little kind of mini firms. I know so many people have hung their own shingle, solo practitioners who do great out there, offer something a little bit different. And then there, and I think from our perspective at Gearhart Law, because we're not like large, we're not really small, we're kind of mid-ish size. That I think we need to see more of out there. There's not enough of that, because that offers a kind of nice, reasonable balance between not working with the solo and not being at a monster firm. And that's a benefit for the client as well as the lawyer, right? So there needs to be more of those types of firms for sure.
Mm. And you kind of touched on this a little bit, but from your experience, what do you think are the positives and the downfalls of working in either a big firm or small firm?
I think the positives of working at a large firm is getting very directed experience, because like as a patent attorney with like a chemistry background, if I'm going to be at a large firm, I'm going to be in the chemical section, right? I'm just that's where they're going to put me, and that has amazing benefits because I'm only going to do biotech chemistry patents. So there's a lot of experience to kind of cull from there. As opposed to being at a small firm, one of the benefits is that you get to work on a variety of things, even possibly other forms of intellectual property, right? At large firms, one of the downfalls is that if you're a patent attorney, you're not really working on anything else. You're not really working on trademarks. You're not really working on agreements, especially when you're a young attorney. Maybe when you're more experienced and you maybe you've grown your practice within the large firm if you're able to do that, so maybe that's something you can do. But at a small firm, those are the benefits for sure. You can work on multiple types of matters, multiple types of clients. You can really kind of spread your wings and try to be an expert in various forms of intellectual property and even other types of areas of law. That's a big benefit. I think also the work-life balance. That's a big thing. I remember working long, hard hours and having high billable requirements. And at the time, I needed that. You need that sometimes, right? You need to kind of work your tush off and kind of prove yourself. At a small firm, we definitely. I mean, I probably work 24/7 even at a small firm. But I think from a young lawyer perspective, or something from that young associate perspective, that there is a better work-life balance, if you will. Like the day can stop at a certain time if you want, and you can shut off your phone if you need to. Not that anybody should shut up your phone if you have due dates and stuff like that, but there is more kind of harmony with your personal life at a small firm. As far as what else can I tell you? Listen, it's a very different world out there. I was going to say maybe there are more opportunities for business development at your small firm. There's probably more freedom to allow you to do certain things. There probably is that freedom at a large firm too, but there's no time. Like you're already like they're going to work you to the bone, so you don't really have time to do anything until you're at a certain level. And so if you really want to be involved and and do things, you can. It's easier to do that at a small firm, or kind of push your way or kind of push your way in when you're at a large firm. With remote working in today's world, things are definitely it's definitely a different world for sure. So I think my biggest advice is just watch this video and kind of figure it out for yourself. But there's definitely some joy and soul satisfying work at small firms for sure.
Nice. So, how often do we see um, big firms working with small firms on projects, or even just two small firms working together, two large firms working together?
That's a great question. I'm working, actually, it's funny. I probably have every permutation of what you just said. I have clients that use big firms for litigation and use us for intellectual property. And so there's always like a crossover. I have clients that use us for intellectual property and they use another small firm that I refer them to for corporate matters or something like that, right? Because they really want that small firm mentality. And some of these clients are large, right? You don't have to just be a large client to work with you can be a large client and still want to work with a small firm. You don't have to want to work with a large firm. But I think there is a lot of crossover. I think one of my um, positives about kind of being involved in the community, in the profession, being involved in organizations like the American Bar Association, the Section for Intellectual Property Law, and other types of associations, is that you get to know other lawyers who become your friends and that are working at various different firms, big and small, some solos. And so when you have a matter that you're able to kind of work on with someone else, it's really just a matter of like who you prefer to work with and who your client can afford, right? At the end of the day, also. But I
Hmm.
think there's a lot of crossover. There's a lot of that. Not, and I think clients I think clients also like to diversify. They don't want to have all of their work being done at one specific firm. They want to kind of, get a feel for how other lawyers do it. There's some positives to that as well.
Wow, I never realized how much they actually work together. So that was
Yeah.
interesting. Um, so I think one of my last questions is going to be, um, where do you think Gerhardt wants to expand more and grow larger? Do you think we're comfortable where we are, or what are your ideas on that?
I think Gearhart Law always is looking to expand. We're always looking for great talent. We're always looking to acquire great lawyers, young lawyers, partner level lawyers. I think no matter how much we grow, though, our DNA, the way we do business, the way we treat our clients will always be small firm, right? That's a really important characteristic of what we're trying to do. So we may end up with multiple offices in multiple countries or multiple states, and we might even be defined or categorized as a large firm in hopefully one day in what the world defines as large firm. But as long as our DNA stays the same, that's important. I think that's important to always feel that, always remember where we came from, right? And always treat our clients as if we were always a small firm, even if in this definition we were larger.
Mhm. And then my last question is going to be, what are your personal goals for your practice? Do you want to keep it small and individualized? Do you want to grow yourself?
So I'm done moving around. I'll be very honest. I've worked at a lot of different places. This Gearhart Law was the first place that allowed me to kind of grow my business and have the freedom to business develop. So I'm on that path still. I'm still trying to grow my business with inside of Gearhart Law, and that's kind of my trajectory. and now I just kind of want to help other younger associates do that as well. I want to impart the knowledge of of like how to business develop, because they don't teach you that in law school, and kind of inspire law students and other attorneys to come to us and stay with us and deliver and build their businesses within Gearhart Law. That's definitely my trajectory for sure.
Awesome. Well, thank you, David. This was very informative. I learned a lot.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you, Helen. It was really fun. Thank you so much.